What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review, we're going to take a look at the G.I. Joe Classifieds Hasbro PulseCon exclusive Serpentor and his Air Chariot. The packaging right here, I'm not going to spend waste too much time on this. Really nice depiction of Serpentor right here. I really like this artwork. Whoever did the artwork for this did a really great job. Flipping around to the side, we've got this kind of read up for the packaging. It says number 57 on the side. That's pretty much it for the side packaging. Flipping around to the back, we've got another kind of same photo as the front. It's just full window display right there. We also have him in his Air Chariot right there. And then we have him kind of, giving Cobra Commander 1-4 right there. We've got another one over here where he's kind of blading himself, which that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a little bit more mature, but this is for adult collectors anyway. I mean, at this point, is it any surprise? We've got Baroness. We've got almost I called him some Serpentor. Destro over here. Another picture of him in his Air Chariot, and then we got a really funny one over here. I actually think it's quite funny. It's Serpentor sitting on the lap of Abraham Lincoln on a throne, a Cobra throne, and you've got a bunch of fists in the air, but it's almost like these were depicted from action figures. I wonder if this is some sort of callback to something. I don't know what. Maybe some sort of action figure collector or somebody did this photo, but you can see that their hands are kind of going like this, and you can see that they all have trigger fingers, which I thought was pretty weird. We've got one fist hand over there, but the rest are all like those trigger hands, which is, I think, hysterical. But that's pretty much it for the packaging. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get him opened up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so once you get the slipcover off, and I'll just go through this because it is kind of specialty packaging, you can kind of open it up just like so, and you have quite a bit of different things to look through here. You've got his sword right here, you've got his staff right there, you've got a snake right here, you've got the figure itself right there, and it's obviously the Air Chariot is somewhere within here. It's covered up, but I really like this kind of laboratory look for the artwork inside. And then over here we've got what looks to be like a back plate for the multiple different looks he has. And then we have his claws right here for his gauntlets, and then we have an extra head over here, which we'll get to all of that once we get this guy out of package. I'm not really sure which head I like more, but we'll get to all of that once we get him out. I just kind of wanted to go through this really quick. Okay, and we're back with all of the Air Chariot pieces. It does include a instruction manual. Everything looks pretty straightforward here, though. I mean, if you really want to check out the instruction manual, here it is. Gives you all the steps right here. Flip it around to the back. All 5 steps are right there. So, I think we're pretty good, though. We'll move on from this. This does bring back some memories of kind of compiling all of the accessories for an old G.I. Joe vehicle and kind of assembling it. And was always kind of the fun. Part of the fun of G.I. Joe was that once you got a vehicle, you could assemble it. So I'll just kind of go through everything here, what there is, and I'll show everything off. We have the sword, Serpentor sword right here. Looks pretty good. Nice detail there. Let me adjust my lighting here a little bit. Very nicely done with the sword. Next up, we've got his little pet. We've got his Cobra. Looks pretty cool. Really like this. I like that they painted the mouth red on the inside. So very nicely done with that. Okay, next up we've got the throwing snake, and there's not too much paint going on besides 2 black pupils. Other than that, it's pretty much just a green plastic. So there is the snake. Next up, we've got his staff. And it's pretty much just a gold plastic. We've got a little bit of red for the rubies on the bottom of the staff on both sides. And that's about it. Next up, we've got his handlebars for the air chariot. I got 2 screws on that side. All right, next up, we've got his 2 guns that you do have to assemble, and you just pretty much just want to peg those in like so. And they peg in very easily, nothing too crazy for the heavy duty guns for the side. And this is going to plug in like so. I believe actually it's going to go towards the back. You're going to peg that in and then peg that in on the back. So it does this right there. And you're going to do the same thing over here. We're just going to make sure that we do it right. We want that pegged in on the side, like so. And then this pegged into the back, like so. And there you go. So now this is how you kind of want to have them looking. So they're facing opposite of each other. And you want to make sure you give them the shake test. They're not falling out, so you're good to go. Next, we'll get to some of this. Actually, you know what? We'll get to the inconsequential for right now, which is the retracted and extended blades for his claws. So either whichever way you want to have him look, extended, retracted, whatever. So for step 1, you're just going to take this and you're going to kind of peg it right into that ball hole right there. The ball hole. And you're going to kind of just give it a good push, and it should snap right in. Now, you want to make sure that these are lined up too, because you have to line this up with those, and then you want to just peg them right in. And I'm assuming that once this is pegged in, it's going to be kind of difficult to get it depegged. So I would definitely fish that in first, and then just kind of slide the rest in like so. And there you go. Nice and easy, nothing too crazy there. And there is the snake's head. And the snake's head is an open mouth, articulated head, or mouth, I should say. It does have a little, looks like to be a machine gun that pops down once you open up the mouth automatically, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if you guys can see that right there. Looks really good, though. Very nicely done. Next step, you want to take the handlebars. And even though you've got some screws right here, you won't really see the screws because you're going to actually peg this in going this way with the screws facing the head. And you just want to kind of pop that down in there until you hear that little pop. And then there you go. You have that. Next piece, you want to install the fins. And I'm assuming you want to install the fins with the hollow piece going inward towards, so you don't see that. So there's one, like I said, filled out part towards the out, hollow piece towards the in. And there you go. Boom. And that is pretty much the assembly that is required for his air chariot. It's very simple, very straightforward. The spindle on his back for his turbine does not spin like the, oh wait, it actually does. Never mind. I was trying to spin this piece. That is incorrect. You do want to spin that piece right there. And as you can see, it is spinning. And if you flip it around to this side, you can see it also spinning on the inside. So that's pretty cool. Nice little touch. You also have what the original, I don't believe, had, which is a landing gear. I don't even think the 25th anniversary had a landing gear. But they are here. Let me see if I can get them out. So that is the landing gear. That's what it's going to look like from the side. And it does sit down nicely, and it does kind of raise him off the ground nicely too. So you're not getting this weird, awkward, if you push these back down, you're going to get this awkward kind of, it's just sitting on the ground thing. Now, there's no stickers or anything like that. Everything is pre-labeled. Everything is already on there, and there's not really any stickers. Everything is kind of already put on. All the logos are already on there, so it's not like an old school I guess, G.I. Joe vehicle where you have to sticker everything. We've got some gauges right here on the sides, right there. And it looks to be like altitude, and it looks to be speed. It looks to be like a radar. And then we have two others, which I can't see. They're very small down there, but kind of hard to make out. And then over here, what looks to be altitude also. That's what I'm assuming. And then we've got some red for these kind of, I guess, thrusters right here. And then we've got like two jet exhaust ports right there. And then obviously we've got the turbine to kind of help it float, you know. We've got two pegs right here for the peg holes on his feet, so he can sit on there nicely and he can hold onto his air chariot and be balanced. And I think that is also another testament to the thought process for the engineering of this, which was to put these landing gears on here so he can settle perfectly. But we'll see how well that does settle. I like all the rivets and everything for the air chariot. Looks pretty good. All the little details on here. Now, essentially, this is all just a gold plastic for the most part. Obviously, the other pieces that we did attach, this is a black plastic right here. Black plastic, black plastic. This actually might be painted black right there. Black plastic, black plastic. And then on the front, we can see the intake ports right here on the sides and in the front. And everything looks really good. I really think this came out very, very beautifully. We've got all of the little insignias right here. It says ZE/03. And then we've got caution, gun reactor. We'll put the guns on in a second, don't worry. There's another caution, ZE03, and then G6116 is the serial number. It says hydraulic right here, and then we've got Cobra symbols on both sides there, as well as over here on the sides of each. And then it says panel removal, all that fun stuff that we used to have as kids. Now, placing the guns on here, you do want to make sure that these are facing outward, not inward, or else they're going to bump his leg. You want to, I'm assuming you want to give him as much leg room as possible, and those just pretty much peg in. They can swivel a little bit. It's not going to be too much, but they can swivel, and they can also pivot up and down a little bit. Now, these are just essentially just pegged in, so that's pretty much all you're getting. I would have liked a deeper peg for these. To be honest with you, I think that's a little bit too shallow for my liking of it going in there and staying in over long periods of time. I could see that eventually just constantly wanting to pop out. But those are there. Those are the cannons right there. And I'm also noticing a little bit of looseness in where you enter or you put the barrel into the actual machine gun port. Now, there's also a handle here, so if you want to take these off and start shooting them, you could. That's an option for you if you wanted to. Maybe his air chariot crashes and he doesn't have a something to fire back on for some suppressing fire or something like that. You could pull this off and have him hold on to that and then just fire back if you wanted to. So, but the cannons look pretty good on here. This is what it will look, the finished product will look like overall. And I think it looks pretty good. I think they did a really good job with some of the updates and redesign for this and made it feel a little bit more modern as opposed to super duper classic. Okay, and we're back with Serpentor, and this is actually the setup that he comes in package. And I think I like this setup better than the more traditional kind of crest in the back, kind of sticking up, and then you can, you know, his head's kind of separate on his own. Now, cool thing about him is that it's all just one head. There's no screaming head. I kind of do wish that there was a screaming head with it. Maybe we'll get a different face sculpt for the single carded release down the road. That would be pretty cool. Him kind of screaming, you know, Cobra, or Cobra la 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 la. You know, that'd be pretty cool. We can see that there's a big peg hole right here. We'll get to that. That's going to be his gauntlets. Now, I said this is his gauntlets kind of retracted. I would have liked a little bit more paint shading with this gauntlet. It feels kind of, I don't know, unfinished, to say the least. I want to say for that gauntlet. At least the gray part looks a little bit toyish. And it looks a little bit too... And I know this is a toy, but... and you're probably laughing, oh, a toy looks like a toy? Yeah. But I'm saying it looks a little bit unfinished. There could be some extra paint detail on there. But here, I think actually this might be the way I have him kind of posed with his claws out. I think that looks the best. Maybe you want to have his claws shortened for when he's holding onto his air chariot. Or, I mean, you could just have him one-handed and just have the claws out, kind of like this. But I want to say he is on a larger body, which he needs to be. He should be the size of, and I don't own it, but he should be the size of Sergeant Slaughter. I don't own the Hasbro classified Sergeant Slaughter, but he is larger. I want to say he feels large. We'll get to that in size comparisons, but I just want to say for first impressions, he does feel like a larger figure. The snake, like I said, pretty cool. I like this snake. I just kind of want to give another really close look at everything. And then here's the staff. And he can hold on to everything just perfectly fine. He does have a trigger hand on both sides. So if you did want to have him holding his large cannons, you could. Or if you want to have him hold his staff, you could also do that as well. I will say this. If you do want to keep this more modern looking kind of crest for his head, it is very limited, very much, limiting the articulation in the head. And once you kind of start twisting his head, it kind of starts separating from the crest of the Cobra. So you kind of have to almost keep his head straight, which does kind of suck. I'm not going to lie, as far as articulation does go. I feel like they should have maybe thought of something a little bit better for range of motion and stuff like that. You can see the gapping right there in the head. Yeah, so... But there's him holding his staff. Here's him holding his sword. Just like so. Looks cool. That's just a basic pose. And then here he is about to throw his snake at somebody. Let's get him all hiked up properly. Like he's about to haul this thing off. And that's the thing that does kind of suck. Like I said, it does kind of suck that he can't really look over with this head crest on. To take the head off, you simply just want to kind of pull it a little bit. And it does peg right into the back right here. If you pull down the cloth goods right there, you kind of want to pull that off. And then there is the head with, oh my God, no head. And then you want to take this other piece and you want to pop that on first. And then you want to put this on separately. So now you have more of a classic look for him. With the crest kind of a separate piece on his head, and then you can adjust the head. And you know what? As much as I do like that other head, I'm probably going to have him posed like this. And the reason for that is you'll be able to move the head. The other way just simply doesn't suffice just because it's just, you're too fixed. You can't move the head. It's going to be sitting just straight. I really wish, and I really like this update for the crest of the snake head. But this is probably how I'm going to have him posed, unfortunately. Just so he's able to get good range of motion in that head, too. Even with that crest in the back. Very good job. This is a very well thought out figure. He looks really, really, really good. Very pleased to have this. Very, very pleased. The figure does come with cloth goods, and it is like a scaled cloth goods, which is pretty cool. That's very nicely done on the inside. This is kind of what it looks like. And it just kind of droops over his back. So pretty good. And really quick, just taking a look at this head sculpt. I think it looks really good. A lot of people don't like the fangs kind of really getting in the way of his eyes. I don't think it's too bad. I want to say the fangs are a little bit more subdued on this crest piece than that one, but I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's perfectly fine. Use your imagination a little bit and just assume that he can see. It doesn't have to be the most literal thing of all time, but I really like the head sculpt. I think did a really good job with that. We've got some silver paint for each of the fangs. The face looks good. It looks like Serpentor. I like all of the really intricate detail that we've got here for all the scales going on here. He's got his snakes with their open mouths and their snake tails kind of going around up to the breastplate. Looks really good. The snake belt right there. And then moving on to the thigh armor. Everything looks really good. It's a nice throwback with a modern update. It's just enough. This looks really, really good. I like the even the texture for the feet and the boots and everything. Everything is very unique on him. And then continuing with the scaling on the back for more armor plating. Looks just really good. Well thought out, well designed, well executed. And then we've got these snake kind of knuckle dusters right there. Same thing on the other side as well. Now, the original Serpentor, I think, had a snake gauntlet for one side, and then the other side had a much more subdued gauntlet with like a piece of, like, I think it was like a metal bracer or something like that with some gadgetry on there. So a little bit of differences there. I don't mind this aesthetic, though. As far as his articulation does go, now, obviously I already showed with this crest on, he's not going to get much head movement, so we'll go through articulation just with this head. Head can look up about that far, head can look down, pretty much full 360 rotation in the head, really good range of motion, very fluid joint and everything. We got some jive turkeys up in here, even though he's a snake man. Tilt side to side. He also has the lower neck joint, which can also kind of jiggle back and forth on its own. The arms will go up about that far. They do go down. I have very tight ratcheted joints. This one's a little bit more fluid on this side than this one. This one's very tight. But he does have butterfly joints, so he can two-hand his sword if you need him to. Good range of motion there. He does have a bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow. Like I said, yet again, the double joints on him are very, very stiff and tight, and I'm going to have to use some sort of heat on these elbows. But he does have double jointed elbows. He's got a swivel at the wrist. He does have a hinge joint, which goes lateral, and lateral on both sides. So no vertical hinge grip. Not that he necessarily really needs it. He's more of a melee guy than anything. He does have a crunch back a little bit, crunch forward, more so forward than back, pivot side to side. Swivel also kind of a little bit hindered, but if you work with it, you can still get him to swivel. Swivel at the waist as well. He can do the splits perfectly. He does have these drop-down hips, which I just don't like with action figures. I just don't like drop-down hips unless they're SH Figuarts. I just think SH Figuarts has perfected it, and I just don't like the feel of them with Hasbro figures. He does have an upper thigh swivel, a double-jointed knee, which, yet again, is not getting the full range of motion, so we'll have to do it on this side. That's full range of motion on this side. Not the best double jointed knee, but it does what it needs to do. It gets past more, it gets more than 90 degrees. I can't talk, excuse me. We do have a boot swivel on both sides. We can pointy toe. Oops, I just swiveled. We can pointy toe. We can pointy heel-y. We can do ankle pivots. All that fun stuff. So pretty good range of motion. All that fun jazz with Mr. Serpentor. Okay, for size comparisons, up first we've got two NECA action figures. NECA is usually around that 7-inch scale, so Serpentor is pretty large, man. We've got the T-800 from Terminator Genesis on the right, and then on the left we've got the Phantom. Okay, next up we've got two McFarlane figures from the DC Multiverse line. We've got John Kent Superman on the right, and then on the left we've got Grifter. Okay, next up, we've got two Marvel Legends. On the right, we've got Shocker. And then on the left, we've got, yes, oops, I stubbed my toe, 3-pack Wolverine. Okay, next up, we've got two Articulated Icons Ninjas. On the right, we've got the Blue Deluxe Ninja. And then on the left, we've got the Martial Artist. Okay, next up, we've got two SH Figuarts action figures. We've got Padme Amidala on the left, and then on the right, we've got Kamen Rider Black RX. Okay, next up, we've got a Motu Classics in Hurricane Hordak on the left, and then on the right, we've got a Mythic Legion Sir Gerard action figure. Okay, next up, we've got two Ken Masters action figures. On the right, we've got the Soda Street Fighter. And then on the left, we've got the NECA version. Okay, and next up, we've got two Valaverse Action Force action figures. On the right, we've got the Riot Trooper. And then on the left, we've got Condor. Okay, and last up, we've got two G.I. Joe Classifieds action figures. We've got Roadblock on the right. And then on the left, we've got Duke. Okay, and we're back with Serpentor on his Air Chariot. I will say... The same kind of a little annoyances that plagued the original figure and the original Air Chariot kind of plagues this a little bit. It's not, like I said, it's not really the end of the world. It just kind of feels like the Air Chariot's a little bit too short for him. I've had to bend his knees a little bit, just a little bit. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it kind of feels like he's hunching forward to grab the bar without having full extension in the arm and making it look a little bit unnatural. The other issue that I have with this is these guns keep popping off entirely too easy, especially with him on it. This one really wants to just wobble right off. It does not take much. The peg should have been longer or more girthy to kind of really wedge itself in there nicely. I just put the landing gear down. That's what those that little sound was. But still, overall, I would say that this is a really nice set. If you weren't fortunate enough to get this, I would just wait for the single carded release. If you don't care about, especially if you don't care about the Air Chariot, it's got fun little features. It's got its little quirks. Like I said, the gun's constantly moving and getting looser and looser is a little annoying. Him kind of having to hunch forward a little bit to hold on to his Air Chariot is a little annoying. It's not the end of the world. I love all the fun things that he does come with, like the snake that he can throw, and obviously the sword, the staff, the extra head crest, the retracted claws, and the little pet, which we'll put the little pet on there. Why not? So we've got a little companion, a little pet companion. And overall, I would say this is definitely still a 2 thumbs up as far as the final verdict does go. And I would definitely recommend picking him up. I wouldn't spend more than what it's really going for. I feel like at that $80 price point, you're spending $40 on this and then essentially $40 on the figure. Like that's quite a bit in today's standards. I know it might not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but that's a bit. And I know a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there, there's certain podcasts that were like, oh, it's going to be like $100, $120. I'm like, that's way too much, guys. Come on. The Hiss tank was $300. You're telling me this would be almost half of that? That's not even close. So, I think some people's feelers were way off on this. I still think this should be around the $60 price point. You're spending 30 for this and then 30 for the figure. I still think that's a little maxed out. These are $25 figures. Now I get they're probably going to reuse this body and re-release him single carded. He's a larger character, but so was Gung Ho. And I think he's a little bit taller than Gung Ho, which we'll get to that. And I'm sure you saw that in the size comparisons. But, personally, I don't like the $80 price point for this. I really think 60 or 50 should have been the right price for this. I know there's a lot of new sculpting, new tooling, stuff going on. I cannot see them not re-releasing this Air Chariot. I can't see it. They went through all the process of tooling this thing just for it to be an exclusive. I can't see them just keeping it at that. So I can see them definitely releasing these figures or this set separately from each other in the future and try to make maybe an extra buck down the road. This is definitely not a $40 Air Chariot. And if you really go into it, if he's a $25 to $30 figure, then he's a this is a $50 Air Chariot. Now you do get some extra accessories, don't get me wrong, but accessories that you're just going to end up putting in a bag and he can't store everything on him. I don't know. I'd rather just ditch the accessories and just keep it like this and give this to me for $50 instead. Still a really good figure. Like I said, definitely full recommendation here. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you for watching as always. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.